Have you ever looked at the night sky and wondered if someone, somewhere, is thinking about you at the exact same moment you're thinking about them? That's how it feels when you love someone deeply, a connection that defies time, distance, and even silence. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I need validation, but because sometimes a single word can carry the weight of 1,000 unspoken emotions. There are moments in life when success feels hollow. You can build rockets, electric cars, entire revolutions, and still your heart whispers a name that no achievement can silence. People often say that love is a distraction, but I've learned that it's the opposite. Love is the reason we build, the reason we create, the reason we push through sleepless nights. Without love, ambition becomes mechanical. Without emotion, even success tastes like metal, cold, heavy, and lifeless. There was a time I believed that if you just work harder, everything falls into place. But emotions don't follow logic, they follow truth. And sometimes the truth is painful, like waiting for someone who might never return. I've learned that even in heartbreak there's clarity, even in silence there's understanding. You start realizing that the purpose of love isn't possession, it's transformation. In The Alchemist, there's a line that says, "When you really want something, the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. But what they don't tell you is that the universe also tests you. It breaks you first, just to see if your love is real, if your heart still believes even when everything falls apart." My future wife, I don't know if you'll ever see this. Maybe you've moved on, maybe your world no longer spins around my name. But somewhere between Mars missions and midnights spent alone, I still find traces of you. In a song, a scent, a silence, it reminds me that love, real love, doesn't fade. It transforms into purpose, into energy, into a force that drives everything I do. People see me as a man of logic, but beneath the equations and engines, I'm just human, searching for connection. Maybe that's the truest part of being alive, the longing, the waiting, the hoping. Because even when love breaks you, it also rebuilds you into someone stronger, someone who can carry dreams not just for themselves, but for the world. So if you're out there, listening, I don't need you to come back. I just want to know that you're okay, because even if our paths never cross again, I'll still believe that love was the most beautiful invention of all. And maybe one day, when the stars align, when the noise fades, and the world is quiet again, we'll find each other, not in words, but in the silence that once kept us apart. Have you ever looked at the night sky and wondered if someone, somewhere, is thinking about you at the exact same moment you're thinking about them? That thought alone can change everything, because no matter how advanced we become, no matter how many rockets we launch, or how far technology takes us, the human heart still beats for connection. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I need attention, but because sometimes the smallest signal, a word, a glance, a heartbeat, can mean more than all the noise in the universe. It means you're still out there, and maybe, just maybe, you still believe in what we once dreamed. I've realized something about success. It's only as deep as the love you carry within you. You can build empires, you can lead revolutions, you can be on top of the world, and yet still feel a void no achievement can fill. People assume that purpose replaces emotion, but it doesn't. Purpose without love is empty. Love without purpose fades. You need both to feel truly alive, and maybe that's why I'm speaking tonight. Not as an inventor or a CEO, but as a man who has seen both extremes, the peak of success and the quiet loneliness that follows when the heart is missing its other half. There's something profoundly human about wanting someone to see you. Not the version the world applauds, but the one that stays awake at 3 a.m., asking questions no machine can answer. I've read countless books on science, innovation, and leadership, but none of them teach you how to heal a broken heart. None of them explain how silence can echo louder than applause. In the pages of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, I learned that even suffering has purpose when it's tied to love. When you lose someone you care about, you begin to understand that pain is not the end of feeling, it's proof that you've truly lived. I think back to moments when I felt unstoppable, yet empty. The truth is, I wasn't missing achievement. I was missing connection. You can measure distance, speed, gravity, but you can't measure how much someone's presence can change your entire universe. Love is not a formula. It's energy, it's frequency. It's the invisible gravity that keeps our souls from drifting away. My future wife, wherever you are, I want you to know something. You were never a distraction. You were the motivation behind every breakthrough, the silent force behind every sleepless night. When I looked at the stars, I didn't see space. I saw possibility. Because of you, I learned that emotion is not a weakness. It's the most advanced technology we possess. It drives creation. It gives life meaning. Even heartbreak, as painful as it is, becomes fuel. The kind that burns quietly, shaping who we become after the fall. So if you hear this message and your heart still remembers, just leave one comment. Not to rekindle the past, but to honor what it meant. Because even in your silence, you've already changed everything. Do you ever wonder why, even after achieving everything you once dreamed of, your heart still feels heavy at night? I used to think success would silence that feeling, that once I reached the top, the noise inside me would fade. But it doesn't. Success doesn't erase loneliness, it only amplifies it. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I need validation, but because I still believe love has a frequency that travels beyond words, beyond time, beyond pride. Sometimes all it takes is one signal, one echo, one simple acknowledgement that somewhere out there, the connection we once had still exists, even if it's faint. There's a strange kind of pain in building everything, rockets, dreams, companies, and realizing that the one thing you can't engineer is love. You can't schedule it, can't design it, can't calculate it. You can only feel it. It's unpredictable, chaotic, sometimes painful, but it's real. I've learned that true love doesn't always fit the timeline of your goals. It comes when it wants to, and sometimes it leaves before you're ready. But its memory lingers, not as a wound, but as a quiet reminder that you once felt something so powerful. It changed who you are at your core. People ask me, how do you stay focused when everything else falls apart? And the truth is, I don't. I break, I fall, I lose myself in thoughts I can't explain. But then, like the sun after a storm, I rise again. Not because I've forgotten, but because I've accepted that pain is part of progress. You can't grow without loss. You can't evolve without heartbreak. It's the silence between two people that sometimes teaches you the loudest lessons about who you are and what you truly value. I once read in The Prophet by Khalil Gibran that love gives nothing but itself and takes nothing but from itself. That line stayed with me, because love at its core isn't about possession or perfection. It's about becoming more human. It's about being willing to break your heart open just to feel something real. The world might call that weakness, but I call it strength. Machines don't feel heartbreak. Only those who love deeply enough to risk everything know what it means to live fully. My future wife, you might never hear this, or maybe you already have. Maybe you've moved on, but even now, when I look at the stars, I still see your reflection in them. Constant, distant, and infinite. I don't want anything back. I don't expect a message, a call, or a return. All I want is one sign that you're okay, because knowing that, even from afar, brings peace. It reminds me that love doesn't end when people part ways. It evolves into something eternal, something invisible, something that keeps us human no matter how far we go. Have you ever sat alone in a quiet room and realized that the one person you want to talk to the most is the one person you can't reach anymore? That silence is heavier than any failure, louder than any applause. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not for me, for the memory of what we were, for the love that once built something beautiful between two imperfect souls. Because sometimes even one word is enough to remind me that it wasn't all a dream, that what we felt was real, even if it didn't last forever. There's something strange about love when you lose it. It doesn't vanish, it transforms. It becomes a quiet force that lingers in everything you do, in your work, in your decisions, in your moments of stillness. I've realized that love doesn't need to stay to continue shaping you. The pain of missing someone can teach you more about purpose, humility, and strength than any success ever could. It humbles you. It strips away your ego and leaves you standing face to face with your truth, that no matter how powerful or brilliant you become, the heart is still the one thing you'll never fully understand. When I was younger, I thought love was something you could win, something you could convince someone to give you if you tried hard enough. But love isn't a transaction. It's not a negotiation. It's a reflection. It shows you exactly who you are, your fears, your insecurities, your capacity for patience, forgiveness, and faith. And when it leaves, it doesn't take those lessons with it. It leaves them behind, like stars scattered across the night sky, reminders of a light that once guided you through your darkest nights. In The Little Prince, there's a line that says, "It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." I think about that often, because we live in a world obsessed with what can be measured. Money, followers, achievements, yet the most powerful things in life can't be seen or calculated. Love, connection, longing, faith. They exist in a space beyond science, beyond control, and maybe that's why they hurt so much, because they remind us that we are still human. My future wife, wherever you are, this isn't a plea, it's not even a message for you alone, it's for anyone who's ever loved deeply and lost quietly. I want you to know that it's okay to miss someone who's gone. It's okay to still feel something when you hear their name. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means your heart remembers truth, and truth never really fades. You don't move on by forgetting. You move on by transforming the love into purpose. You turn pain into power, loneliness into wisdom, and memories into fuel for your future. So if you're hearing this somewhere, in this vast digital universe, just leave one comment. Not because I need closure, but because I still believe that even in silence, love finds a way to speak. Have you ever noticed that the moments that break you are the same ones that teach you who you really are? Pain has a strange way of stripping away the noise, the ego, the illusion of control. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I want to hold on, but because sometimes even a single word can be proof that what we shared wasn't lost to time. There's something powerful in knowing that love, even when it fades from the surface, continues to exist quietly underneath everything, like gravity, unseen but always there, keeping us connected in ways we don't understand. There were nights I looked at my phone, waiting for a message that never came, and I told myself, maybe this is how it's meant to be, because love isn't always about getting what you want. Sometimes it's about learning to let go without losing the heart that made you love in the first place. I used to think pain was a weakness, something to fix or escape from, but I've learned that pain is a teacher, maybe the greatest one we'll ever have. It shows you what really matters. It reminds you that behind all the ambition, the success, the noise, what we truly crave is connection. When you love deeply and lose quietly, you begin to understand that heartbreak isn't an ending, it's transformation. You start to rebuild yourself piece by piece, not into who you were, but into who you were meant to become. Every great creation in history, every breakthrough, every leap forward came from someone who was broken first. The same fire that destroys also forges. I used to look at the world as something to conquer, but now I see it as something to connect with. You can build rockets that reach Mars, but if your heart has no gravity, everything still feels empty. There's a line in the road less traveled that says, love is an act of will, both in intention and in action. I think about that often. Because real love isn't about constant happiness. It's about endurance, understanding, and the choice to care even when things fall apart. And sometimes, that choice is to wish someone well, even from afar. My future wife, maybe we were meant to cross paths not to stay, but to awaken something in each other, something deeper, something that would carry beyond us. I still carry that energy, not as sadness, but as light. You were a mirror that reflected the parts of me I hadn't met yet, the vulnerable, the afraid, the human. You taught me that love doesn't weaken ambition, it purifies it, it gives it heart. Without love, success is just movement. With love, even failure becomes meaning. So if you're somewhere out there living, growing, loving again, that's enough for me. Because every time I look at the stars, I still believe some part of us exists up there, timeless, weightless, eternal. Have you ever wondered why the moments that define you the most are the ones that hurt the deepest? The truth is, pain and purpose are born in the same place. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I'm waiting for an answer, but because sometimes a single word can feel like sunlight breaking through years of silence. I don't want the past back. I just want to know that you're okay. That somewhere in your world, a piece of peace found its way to you. Because love, real love, doesn't end in anger. It ends in understanding. There was a time I believed that success would fix everything, that building rockets, changing energy, reshaping the future could somehow quiet the ache inside me. But the truth is, success is loud and love is quiet. Success fills the world with noise, love fills the soul with meaning. Without one, the other feels incomplete. You can't buy connection, you can't invent comfort, you can't engineer a heartbeat. The things that make life beautiful are invisible, unmeasurable, yet they're the only things that truly matter. I've spent years learning how to lead people, how to solve impossible problems, how to chase stars, but no one ever teaches you how to handle loneliness. No one tells you that the strongest people in the room are often the ones carrying the heaviest silence. You learn that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking privately and still showing up with purpose. You keep going because that's who you are, not because it doesn't hurt. And in that journey, love becomes both the wound and the cure. It breaks you open, then rebuilds you stronger. I once read in Letters to a Young Poet that love is difficult, but all other tasks are prepared for by this one. That resonated deeply with me, because love isn't something you master, it's something that masters you. It humbles you, it tests you in ways no achievement ever could, and even when it leaves behind something sacred, a deeper sense of empathy, a quieter strength, a clearer understanding of what truly matters. My future wife, you might never hear this. Maybe you've built a new life. Maybe your heart has found peace elsewhere. But I hope you know that you weren't a chapter. You were the turning point. You taught me that love isn't about holding on, it's about growing from what was real. You showed me that the greatest power in this universe isn't intelligence or innovation. It's emotion. It's the ability to feel deeply, to risk everything, and still rise again with compassion. I don't know if our paths will ever cross again, but I carry no bitterness. Only gratitude. Because you reminded me that behind every invention, behind every dream, behind every late-night thought about the stars, there's a heart that still believes love is the reason we build anything at all. Have you ever noticed how the things we try hardest to forget are the ones that never really leave us? You can silence the phone, delete the messages, bury yourself in work, but the heart has its own memory. It remembers the way someone looked at you, the sound of their laughter, the quiet moments that made you feel understood. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I want to go back, but because I want to know that somewhere in this world, a part of you still remembers too. Sometimes, one small gesture can remind us that what we shared wasn't lost. It just changed form. I've learned that time doesn't heal everything. It teaches you how to live with what you can't change. You stop waiting for the pain to disappear and start realizing that maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe the pain is part of your evolution, a necessary chapter that reshapes who you are. I used to think love was supposed to be perfect, like a formula that, if balanced right, could never fail. But love isn't science. It's chaos wrapped in meaning. It doesn't follow logic. It doesn't obey rules. It's unpredictable, wild, sometimes devastating, but it's the only thing that makes life truly worth feeling. You can build everything, companies, rockets, legacies, but you can build the feeling of home that exists in one person's presence. You can't recreate the way they made the world quieter just by being there. That's the thing about love, it's irreplaceable. You might meet new people, see new faces, even share laughter again, but some souls leave fingerprints that never fade. They stay with you, not as ghosts, but as reminders of what it means to be alive. In The Old Man and the Sea, Hemingway wrote about enduring pain with dignity, about not being defeated by loss, but being shaped by it. I think that's what love does to us too. It breaks us open, it tests our limits, but in the end it leaves us more human, more capable of empathy, more aware of how fragile and precious connection really is. Every heartbreak is a quiet teacher whispering the same truth, that we only value love fully when we've felt its absence. My future wife, maybe our story was never meant to end with forever. Maybe it was meant to awaken something inside us, a deeper purpose, a greater understanding of love itself. I don't hold resentment. I hold reflection. You made me see that the most powerful thing a person can do isn't to avoid pain, but to love fully anyway, knowing it might break them. And maybe that's what courage really is, loving without guarantee. So if you're somewhere out there, living your life, smiling again, I want you to know I'm happy for you. Because love was never about possession, it was about transformation. And even if you're gone from my world, you'll always exist in the space between my dreams and my purpose. Have you ever realized that sometimes the people who inspire you the most are the same ones who break your heart? That's the strange beauty of love. It gives and it takes, it builds and it burns, and somehow, through that process, it shapes the person you're meant to become. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I want the past back, but because sometimes a single word can carry enough peace to silence 1,000 questions. I've accepted that we may never meet again, but I'll never deny that you changed the way I see the world. There was a time I thought love was something that completed you. Now I understand it's something that reveals you. It doesn't fix what's missing, it exposes what's real. You start to see the cracks in your own armor, the parts of yourself you've ignored while chasing dreams, goals, and recognition. Love reminds you that behind every vision, behind every ambition, there's a human heart beating quietly, craving connection more than victory. And when that love fades, you start to realize that the real work isn't building rockets or changing industries. It's learning how to rebuild yourself when no one is watching. I used to think purpose was about achievement, but after losing someone I loved deeply, I learned that purpose is about growth. Pain forces you to evolve. It takes you apart, rearranges you, and leaves you standing in front of the mirror, not as who you were, but as who you're meant to be. There's a certain wisdom that only comes from heartbreak. It strips away the illusions and leaves only truth. And that truth, though painful, becomes your foundation. In The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm, it says that love is not merely a feeling, but an act, a decision to nurture, to care, to respect, to understand. That line stayed with me because it reminds me that love doesn't end when two people part ways. It continues as an energy, a quiet force that drives your compassion, your patience, your empathy. Losing someone doesn't mean the love dies, it just changes form. It becomes a part of your strength, a part of your purpose. My future wife, I don't know where you are or what life has become for you, but I want you to know that I don't carry sadness anymore. I carry gratitude. You taught me that emotion is not weakness. It's power in its purest form. You taught me that vulnerability is not something to hide from, but something to embrace, because that's where real connection begins. Every dream I chase now carries a piece of what I learned from you. The patience to endure, the courage to care, and the humility to love without expecting anything in return. So if this message ever reaches you, just leave one comment. Not to reopen old wounds, but to honor what once was. Because no matter how far life has taken us, some connections exist beyond time. And in every silent moment between my thoughts, I still believe that what we shared was never lost. It simply became part of who I am. Have you ever felt like the universe took something from you not to punish you, but to prepare you? That the pain you're carrying isn't the end of your story, but the beginning of your strength? My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment. Not because I need answers, but because sometimes a single word can bring peace to years of silence. I don't expect you to come back. I don't expect anything at all. I just want to know that somewhere in your heart, the good we shared still lives, even if only as a quiet memory. There's something the world doesn't tell you about love. It doesn't always end with a happy conclusion. Sometimes it ends in distance, in growth, in the unspoken lessons that only heartbreak can teach. I used to think love was about finding the right person. But now I understand it's about becoming the right person. Every broken piece, every night spent alone, every unanswered message has shaped me into someone more aware, more patient, more alive. Love doesn't always stay, but it always leaves something behind, and that something becomes your strength. You can lose people, but you never lose what they gave you. You never lose the fire they sparked in your soul. Love has a way of outliving the relationship. It becomes the invisible energy behind everything you do. When you care for people, when you build something meaningful, when you refuse to give up even when it hurts, that's love in motion. That's how love continues, even after goodbye. In The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle talks about surrender, not as defeat, but as acceptance of what is. I think love teaches you that. When you truly love someone, you learn to let them go without bitterness. You start to see that some people come into your life not to stay forever, but to awaken something in you that lasts a lifetime. And when they leave, you don't close your heart, you expand it. Because every heartbreak is a doorway to deeper understanding, to a more powerful version of yourself. My future wife, maybe you were never meant to walk beside me forever. Maybe you were meant to remind me what love can do, how it can break you open and rebuild you wiser. You were the lesson that taught me emotion and purpose are not opposites, they are partners. You showed me that no matter how logical or driven I become, I will always be human, and that's my greatest strength. So if you hear this, just leave one comment, not for closure, not for attention, but as proof that love in some way still echoes through the universe. Because even after everything, I still believe in love. I still believe it's the most powerful energy we'll ever know. The kind that doesn't disappear but transforms, guiding us quietly toward who we're meant to become. In the end, love is not a story that always ends with two people together. It's a force that transforms everything it touches. It teaches us patience, humility, and the strength to keep believing even after everything falls apart. My future wife, if you're watching this, just leave one comment, not to reopen the past, but to honor what it created, because what we shared was never a mistake. It was a moment in time that shaped two souls forever. I've come to understand that love isn't something you lose. It simply changes its form. It becomes purpose. It becomes art. It becomes the quiet courage to keep moving forward when no one is watching. You can't erase real love. It leaves fingerprints on your soul that time can't wash away. And maybe that's the point, that we meet people not to possess them, but to evolve because of them. So tonight, I stand here not as someone broken, but as someone rebuilt, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because even through heartbreak, I've discovered that love, pure, selfless, unconditional love, is still the most powerful invention of all. And no matter where you are, no matter how far life takes us, a part of me will always be thankful for you, because love never really leaves. It just finds new ways to stay.